Excited today. I have not only an author, I have a prophet, I have a friend who's joined me today for this podcast, Danté's Harmony, and I'm excited to bring her to the forefront. Before I bring her, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but fasten your seatbelts, because she's got a lot of information. She's doing a lot of things. She's doing great things, not only in the community, but she's serving God with a purpose. We're going to talk about her book. We're going to talk about some of the things that she's doing and dealing with in her everyday life, and how she's serving the community and how she's serving the world. So I guess I can just go ahead and dive into it. And let me say this. We have a lot of things in common. Not only did we go to school together, we went to high school together, but we're from the same hood. We from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Absolutely.
We got the 305, the 954 in the house on today in Danté's Harmony. So without further ado, I want you to give it up for my guest, Miss Kenyatta McKinnon. Kenyatta.
Dante.
How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely great today.
It is so good to see you. It's so good to do this. You've
Absolutely.
been trying to track me down.
Oh my gosh. Like every single day, I'm like hounding you, like, when are we going to do this podcast? I'm excited.
And it's happening.
It's happening right now.
It's happening right now.
Yes.
And you know what? What better time?
What better time?
What better
Exactly.
time?
This is a phenomenal time to do, podcasting and to, get messages out. So I think that this is a really, really, really great opportunity and a great platform, to inform people, on things that,
I
they
agree.
need to be doing.
You know what? You said something, and I really believe that this is one of the new pulpits, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Podcasting is a new ministering tool.
It is. It reaches the masses. You can cross border lines. There's no limitations to where your voice can go and where you can affect to make change.
That's
so
right.
I think this is the new thing,
It
and I'm
is.
just excited and glad that I'm part of this new wave.
And you are here, and you're doing some amazing things. I want to first talk about your book. You have a book out called Bridging the Gap. I want you to share with the listeners what was the inspiration behind the book, and exactly who are you talking about, or what is the book really addressing? Who is it? Who's your target audience?
Bridging the Gap was a book that I decided to write, I think back in 2019, 2020, because at the time there was a lot of things going on with law enforcement and the community. It was a lot of unjustified shootings that were taking place.
Like now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going on. And so I think that around that time, right before COVID, it was the pivot of, talk of the town before COVID really took over. And me just being out in the community, as being a prior law enforcement officer, as well as somebody that has been part of the community, I just thought it was important that the community understood the roles of a law enforcement officer, and the law enforcement officers understood the roles of the people in the community. And I think that dynamic in itself made me come up with the book Bridging the Gap, because a lot of people at that time, and still now, it was just so much diversity and so much adversary going on. So I thought the need to try to, let people know both sides so that we can come together and bridge the gap.
I think that's important. I think that's key, and I think that is an excellent way of reaching the masses. You're doing something with law enforcement through your book that sometimes pastors need to consider in their churches, and
Yeah.
how to bridge the older people with the young people.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think we're in a culture now where, people want to, stick to the old ways of doing things. And I think that if you don't change, you're going to get left behind. Everything changes, time changes, seasons change, and I think that we need to change with the times. So some people, will get left behind because they want to keep doing it the old-fashioned way, but we're moving into a more of an AI and technology type of world. And so if you're not on board with change, pretty much you're in danger of, missing the wave.
Missing the wave, missing out in opportunities where we're lacking.
Absolutely.
We really should be in front of
Yeah.
a lot of the issues that are happening. I think this is very cool, very strategic, especially in the height and in the I think about what's going on right now with even police brutality. I mean, even on the news today, you've seen things going on in Illinois and in different places, and the shootings. But I think there's a narrative that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
From the law enforcement side, there's a narrative that the law enforcement don't understand about the civic side.
Absolutely.
So there has to be a gap. There has to be a bridging the gap. And I totally...
Yeah, and it's a lot of myths, and a lot of people think that police officers or law enforcement, that they abuse the authority, and they just want to go out and do these shootings, or and I just thought it was important in the book. I talk about how I think it's important that the community knows that law enforcement only comes to, your community if they're called. It's not like, they're looking to come, or, we only, go when we're called, And so I think that they need to understand that law enforcement officers don't wake up in the morning saying, okay, who can I kill today? I think that, the circumstances kind of dictate what's going on, but also on the community side, I get how the community feels, because, every time they come in contact with law enforcement, it's a negative experience sometimes versus a positive experience. But my book is just to ensure people that, just like they're good officers, we have bad officers. Just like there's good community leaders and connections, there's also bad community leaders and connections. And so, I just wanted that book to be able to resonate and connect with people, so that they know that the officer is really there to help them,
right,
not to hurt them. And I think with social media, and I think with news outlets, they control the narrative, and because they control the narrative, whatever they put out, the public, is biased to that,
right,
and a lot of times it causes confusion between law enforcement and the community, and that's why I thought it was important to write the book.
So and you bring up some great points, and I know there have been some challenges, and we can talk about that probably a little bit even more in depth, because we know that there's a lot of racial tension, and I think it's so unique, because there's like a double whammy, especially in your case, where you're not only an African American woman, you not only know that side of law enforcement,
right,
so you serve and you get what it is.
Absolutely.
Being an African American woman, so you can speak to this. What have been some of the it's obvious that race plays a big part of a lot of the biases that have been happening.
Absolutely.
With a lot of what's been going on. But what are some key challenges? What are some of the things that you've been facing with men, women, children, globally, when you address the issues in your book, talking about bridging the gap?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that you touched on is very important, discrimination. A lot of times, you can, by how you're perceived, can dictate how somebody responds to you. And I think that we need to kind of get away from the norm, and we kind of need to kind of treat everybody on the same level as soon as we encounter them, and let's find out more information. Let's talk to them. Let's talk to the community. Let's talk to the officers. Let's get the officers that service these communities together, so that they have a relationship with the people in the community, so it's not a black and white thing. My book really doesn't concentrate on race, black or white. It's basically all cultural ethnicities across the board.
Right.
You know, whether that's Hispanic, Caucasian, African Americans, because we only see, I think, in the media shootings and stuff with African Americans, but there have been a lot of unjustified shootings with Caucasians that people don't really talk about.
Right.
So I think that the media has that influence, and because the media has that influence, it influences the way the community and people think about law enforcement. So in my book, I wanted to kind of point out some things that people may not have known factual wise doing research, that it's not just African Americans that are being unjustifiably killed. It also happens in the Caucasian community as well.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. And sometimes it's the narrative that's put out.
Yeah.
You know, it's the narrative that they spin, and the things, the images that they show on television and on the radio.
Absolutely. I think that plays a major role what people see. I think the news is probably about 90% influencing the society today. And whatever they put out, instead of people doing their research and going back trying to fact find, they just take what they say for face value. And we know it's been instances throughout history and throughout this country where news media outlets haven't been, the most honest people. I'm not saying that they're, but I understand they have to put out the news. But instead of us listening to the first thing that they say, let's do a little research and kind of check into what they're actually saying is matching up with what statistics are saying. And I was finding that a lot of things that the news media outlets were putting out was not necessarily 100% true. And that's what made me say, you know what, I need to write a book. I need to inform people that, they need to do their research. They need to, look at stats. They need to understand that, instead of just taking what people say for face value, take some time out and research. And I think that's part of bridging the gap.
Right.
Because if they do that, then they may not have those feelings that they initially started with if they go back and do, take the time and research. You know what I mean?
I agree. We have to do our due diligence when we have to find out. There's certain things that we need to know and find out.
Absolutely,
in order
absolutely.
To bridge the gap, which I think is very important, because when we do get to a point of, with the racial tension and all of the things that are happening, once that does settle, how do we bridge the gap?
Yeah.
I think this is your book is even leading us to a place that we need to be.
Absolutely.
It's leading us to a place where we should be.
And I didn't even know when I wrote the book that so many other shootings would take place. Since then it's been a lot of different shootings that have taken place across the country. And initially when I wrote it, I was thinking more like on a level of, maybe the state. But I noticed as time went on that this is actually a global issue. You know what I mean? It's a humanity issue.
It is.
And we have to address it. And each person needs to take that time out to understand the dynamics of what's going on so that they can, not only for their well-being, but also for their kids. Because when kids get pulled over by the police, depending on what they've been taught, what they've been trained, what they see, on the news and, media outlets, it could sway maybe how they may, act in return, and it may not even be like that, but because, of the stigma of the negativity sometimes on, the police officers' end, then, it causes to make even more of, people being diverse.
People get irate when they don't have information and they just see color.
Yeah.
They just see, and we don't understand.
Absolutely.
To your point, I was part of a mentoring program with the school system, and one of the things, I had an idea, and they hadn't done it, and this was back probably in 2013 when I did it, and I went to the chief of this particular county and asked him. I said, listen, we're experiencing a lot of stops, these kids getting stopped, not knowing what to do, some nervously doing the wrong thing, reacting the wrong way, not knowing what they should do. I said, is there a way we can have a simulation? And literally it was like, we took our SROs, or the student resource officers, what we call them, which are actual cops, but these were, you know, the county or the school system cops, right? And we connected with them, and we had the parents, we had the students,
absolutely,
and we had an actual vehicle. They even used, I let them use my vehicle, like the vehicle that was being stopped, right? So, you know, the officer was walking the parents and the students through what to do.
Absolutely.
Where the hands should be positioned. All, you know, just detail for detail. Absolutely. And I think that's something, that's that bridge in the gap.
Yeah, it is. And I really think it's important for, like you said, for the young kids to actually walk through reality, real life situations, so that when it occurs, if it does occur, they know how to handle it. I tell a lot of people that I mentor, especially the youth, all the time, go ahead and just comply with what the officer is saying, whether you're in agreement or not. You can always go back later and sue. But for right now, let's just be compliant with what the officer says, because, you know, in some cases when you don't, or, you know, if you act a certain way, it could have detrimental, you know, consequences, even death, if you're not paying attention. So I think it's important that, you know, like you said, that we educate the young kids up and coming, the youth, on what they should be doing, like the do's and the don'ts when you encounter law enforcement. And I think that education and training is very key. And one of the things that I try to do is, with my mentoring, is I try to educate and train the youth on the right way to act when they're encountering, you know, real life situations.
That's good.
Yeah.
I know this is kind of like an impromptu, but how many years have you served in that capacity?
I was in law enforcement for 23 years. Wow. I retired, September.
So you know a little something.
Yeah. I retired in 2021, and I still do, you know, engage, you know, in law enforcement activities even now. But I've seen it all. You know, I've seen, you know, the structure that was broke down, even from the foundations, even when the kids, even before they even got to an age to even know what breaking the law was. And I mean, I'm just going to be honest, it starts at home with the parents.
Hello.
And, you know, it's difficult for a child to see hope when the mother is on drugs and the father is in and out of prison. People think that it doesn't affect the child, but it does. So those dynamics, along with other situations and circumstances, a lot of times have these kids, the youth, you know, portraying or acting a certain way towards law enforcement when it's really not like that. But that's all they've seen, that's all they experienced, so that's what they know. So what do? We do what we know.
Right.
And so if you don't know any better, you're not going to do any better. Yeah, so
that's good, and I think that's really important moving forward. I know that the book is available for folks to purchase, but Bridging the Gap, you all need to go to Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.com
and secure this book. She gives a lot of statistics. She talks about a lot of different things that we're probably not going to talk about because you need to buy the book.
Right.
You need to buy the book. But I think it's important, and I think this is awesome that you're doing this to bridge the gap.
Absolutely. I think it's a need for it for a long time. I think that there has been diversity within the community and law enforcement, and you know, whatever we can do as a unit, not just law enforcement but community as well, to bridge that gap, then I think we owe it to our youth and you know, to our communities to do our due diligence to try to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's take a little turn in the road. I want to talk a little bit more, because you know you wear a lot of hats, Kenyatta. You wear a lot of. You are a CEO. Yes. You are a minister.
Yes.
You're an author. You're a public speaker. Yes. It's so much more. Like, first of all, how do you handle juggling all of these different things and hats that you wear?
Well, you know, it's balance. Yeah. You know, I don't try to do everything at once. I take one task at a time, and once it's complete, then I move on to the next task. And I do that so that I'm not overwhelmed, because, you know, I do a lot. You know, it's just balance and just having really good time management. You know, knowing how much time to spend on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish for that particular time. And I think because I manage time very well, I'm able to do it, and I'm able to balance in doing it, and it's not becoming too much, because as you know, sometimes we can be loaded down so much with stuff that we just get to the point where we just are stressed out and we don't want to do it. But I think that one of the fortunate things for me is that I had such a long career in law enforcement, and while I was doing that, I was still studying the word to minister, and then I was already public speaking anyway, so I think that it just kind of all tied in together, and I just figured out how to balance it to make it all work.
That's incredible, because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to create a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that was going to be like my next question. So when you start talking about being the CEO and you're an author, and you're in ministry and prophetic, prophetic ministry.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. You have a brand of one of the things, and I was so intrigued when you first started it. On your, I think I saw it first on your Facebook page, Hustle for God.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and the ministry side of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
that's your baby.
Yeah, it is. It is. Hustle for God was what God had gave me back in 2017. Didn't even know why I was creating a Hustle for God. Just knew that I wanted to do something for God. At that time, my vision and focus wasn't as laser as it is now. But it was a start for me. And so I just began to do encouraging quotes for people daily. And then from there, Dante, it just really kind of grew. And then I started doing teachings because I started, just falling in love with, the Word of God. And then from there, I started doing prayers, and then from there I started ministering, and then from there I started traveling out of the country, going to these different countries, ministering the Word of God. So I think that it started as a little baby, and I think as I just walked through it, the process, it just grew to Kenyatta McKinnon, the brand Kenyatta McKinnon. So
y'all need to know.
Yeah. So
she is hustling for God. Y'all. I look at people hustling in their various walks of life and doing whatever their hustle is, or whatever it is that they're branding, or a product that they may be selling, or whatever. But to see my friend here, like, she really went in on this brand, or this thing that she calls Hustle for God, that deals with her ministry.
Right.
And I'm watching you pray and teach, and now in the prophetic. When did it start? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, Hustle for God. People hustle for money every single day.
Yeah.
They do these side gigs and they're hustling. So I'm like, well, if people are hustling for God, if people are hustling for money all the time, why not take that same energy and hustle for God?
Yeah.
So that's how the name was basically created. Wow. And then as I started, my walk in ministry, and even getting deeper in the prophetic and deeper into, my teaching and my calling and my assignment, then I kind of shifted it to Kenyatta McKinnon Ministries. And Hustle for God will always be my baby. It'll always be something that, turned into and just blossomed into Kenyatta McKinnon Ministries. And I have both, So I have the Hustle for God part of it, and then I have the Kenyatta McKinnon Ministries part of it, which is a bit more formal, but all of it tied together as one. I think that now I couldn't really have one without the other, because from Hustle for God, as I began to grow, then Kenyatta McKinnon Ministries got birthed out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for you all that haven't, we're gonna make sure that you all know where she is, where you can follow her, how you can support her, the various platforms that she's on. Did y'all hear what she said? She's internationally known. She internationally has traveled. Like, there are places, and I've watched her. I'm like, totally. She's gone out of the country and ministered.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
huge stages in Africa and abroad.
Yeah.
Like, tell us about some of those experiences and how did that come to be?
Well, I think that initially the ministry I was in did a lot of missionary work. And so it allowed me to be able to travel out of the country. It allowed me to be able to see a different side. So I've been able to minister in Accra, Ghana. I've been able to minister in Nigeria. I've been able to minister in Pakistan. And so it just allowed me to go to different countries and be able to get that experience and to be able to know how these individuals, operate out there.
Right.
And, absolutely. And it was a good experience for me, because what it did for me is it allowed me to see another side of ministry outside of the United States of America. So, I just began to, as I began to travel and I just began to start ministering internationally, I just realized, wait a minute, this is something I like. I want to do this, if not full time, about
right.
80% of my time. And so it just kind of started from there. And after that, after I went a couple of times, it was just like clockwork, Dante. I just went and ministered and kept it moving. So, I do it now so much. But it's just, it was just the direction that God was taking me in, and I had no idea.
It seems like you were almost reintroduced to yourself.
Absolutely.
Like you didn't, when you started doing it, like, okay, yeah, this is a good idea, and you start doing it.
Absolutely.
But then the more you did it, like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
this whole other side.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It just emerged, and I tell people all the time, just start. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they try to figure out, what can I do? How do I do it? What are the tools? What do I need to do? And I'm saying, just start.
Just start it.
As you start, everything will begin to fall in place. So my advice to people is just start. A lot of people feel like they have to have it all together to get started, but you really don't. You just start, and as you start, you'll just be able to, things will just start opening up, opportunities. And I think that's what happened for me. I just started, and opportunities just begin to open up. And so I took it, and it worked in my favor, and here I am now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I was listening to someone on my Instagram page today, and they said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That a lot of people they have these ideas, and they think, oh, I need to have this trademark, and I need to have this registered, and I had to. No, just start.
Just start.
Right where you are. And just do it.
And do it. And the thing about it, I just started, but I enjoyed doing what I do. It's a difference when you feel like you're doing something as a task versus you're doing something that you enjoy to do. So, if you have a passion for it, just start. As you continue to start on that path, you'll find your way.
Right.
And whatever way you're leading, trust me, it will lead you to the road that you need to be on. So, that to me, I think was the most driving force, that it was something that I just did. I just started, and then I started having a passion for it, and I just loved it, and I've just, been doing it ever since.
And now you're birthing all these other different things.
Yes, all these other programs. Absolutely.
So now you're teaching, and
yes.
you have your calls on certain days, and we'll get to that, because I want everyone to make sure that they have your information and they're following your platform, and they are keeping up with what you have going on and what you're doing, because I think it's commendable when God gives you something, you take it and you develop it.
Absolutely.
And it grows bigger than what you can even
think or imagine,
right.
And so I think that I get a joy out of serving God, serving his people. You have to have a certain type of personality to be able to serve people. It's not easy, but I think that overall, I think that the most thing that has given me the most joy, I think, since I've started, even with me being an author and a speaker, and is just serving God and serving his people.
Wow.
I get so much pleasure and so much satisfaction out of seeing other people happy, out of seeing other people have resources and support that they need to be able to elevate to that next level in their life. A lot of people don't have those resources. A lot of people, are not privy to some of the things that other people are. And so I wanted to make sure that, when we look at my ministry and my nonprofit, that we're benefiting and helping those who cannot help themselves. The Bible says, giving to the poor is like giving to Jesus. And so when you do that, there's just a gratitude, like a place of gratitude, and like you're humbling yourself, and it's just a good feeling to know that you helped somebody, that you've made a difference. Even if it's one person, it's still somebody's life that you've impacted, that set them on a different course versus if you wouldn't have done anything at all. And I think that's where I get a lot of my satisfaction and pleasure from.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's commendable, especially when you find your niche and you follow God's heart and where He's leading you.
Absolutely.
I know that there are probably countless stories, and I know we won't call any names, and
right? Absolutely.
Anything like that. But
absolutely.
Has there been any type of stories or you can think of, or any success stories that you're proud of, or something that someone may have been going through, and because they came in contact with ministry and your prophetic calling on your life,
right, that
there was a change in theirs?
Sure. There have been incidents where it was this gentleman at the time. He was somebody that I knew, that I worked with here and there, and he was suicidal, and I invited him to come to my mentorship program, and for him to just be able to have a safe space to vent and to be able to tell his story and what drove him to the point where he felt like that he wanted to not live anymore. And in listening to his story, a lot of times we'll be surprised, but a lot of things that stem from people that want to commit suicide and stuff is it starts way, 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 way back in their past, and it's things that they've never dealt with that have built up over a time, and they just get to the point where they just can't do it anymore. And through us praying for him, through us talking to him, through us giving him different resources and support, in a safe space for him to be able to vent and talk through his issues, to be able to get through it. I'm proud to say that this gentleman now is doing very well. He has completed college. He's now doing business, and so but I look at him and I was like, just 5 or 6 years ago, he was ready to commit suicide. But because of our mentorship program, and because of the resources and us, giving time to assist him, he was able to be a success story. And so I'm grateful that we were able to, help him so that he could, go ahead and start living a productive, fruitful life.
That's amazing. I think about what you said, and you used the word mentoring, and how you were able to, through mentorship,
absolutely,
and through ministry,
absolutely,
through your servanthood, through ministry, doing ministry, serving through spiritual, concepts and things that you probably were able to talk to him about. It caused him to live.
It did.
And that to me is that like heaven is rejoicing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over that one life. That
absolutely.
you touched. And I think that's what it's all about. If we can't use what God has given us to make a difference in somebody else's life,
absolutely,
we kind of maybe need to come back and check. Okay, Lord, is this what I'm supposed to be
absolutely
using?
Absolutely. You need to put a pause on it and hit replay, because people have to understand that when you're dealing with people and lives, and as it relates to ministry, you're responsible for that person. You're like the shepherd leading the sheep. And so we have to make sure, that we as responsible individuals and leaders, that we're putting the people on the right path. We're giving them the right information. We're allowing them to be able to go back and, pray and fast and get revelation on the information given to them, so that we can redirect them on a path that will help them get to where they're trying to go. Because a lot of these youth, a lot of the kids, they want a better life. they want to do more. They know that they're able to do more, but it's limitations that have stopped them, and it's things that have came up in their past that has caused them not to be able to be as successful. And because they're not getting it right now, Dante, when we look at social media, people put all of this stuff on there, and they think, a lot of people think that what they see on social media is real, and so they compare themselves and they want to be in competition with the people in social media, but the people on social media may not even really be what you think they are. And but and so these kids, they just, they really get caught up in, this worldly society that we live in, and they feel like that if they're not where somebody else is, they're not progressing fast enough, or what's wrong with me, or why can't I have it, this person has it. And I think it's just important that they understand that everybody's journey and everybody's process is different, and you really can't go by what you see, because that's really kind of false evidence appearing real, because we don't really know if what we're seeing is actually what we're seeing or not. So you really can't go off of that. But these kids, they use that as a gauge, and I think that because of that,
they need a more real narrative.
Absolutely.
I think, and this is a perfect segue into the next question I was going to ask, but you bring up such a great point, because I look at a lot of the youth now, and I mentor some kids in school, and I call them leaders. I call them scholars.
Absolutely.
And there's so much that I draw from them, and there's so much that I do to help cultivate them and encourage each other. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, you started talking about it, is what are some of those essential things that you think our youth needs? This was a perfect segue, Kenyatta, to my next question, which deals with how we deal with our youth, right? One of the things you talked about, which was so key, mentoring our youth and how we connect with our youth. What do you think are some of the things that our youth today, as leaders, what do they need?
Yeah, I think that the youth, they need adaptability. They need great communication skills. They need to be open, because what happens is, in order for us to better assist and develop those youth, we need to make sure that they have the proper tools to be able to communicate with people properly. And I think we talked about it earlier, where we kind of involve them in real life situations, team building, so that they know how to work with other people, that it's not just them, that they need to work with other people. Because I think that when youth work with other people and they team build, then they have a better concept of what it is, when we're dealing with life skills. And I think that that's one of the things that youth need to really begin to do. Even Jesus had 12 disciples, so it's not anything that you can do on your own or by yourself. They have to have a team. They have to build with one another, in order to, see results. And I think through that team building, through communication, through, real life experiences that they go through, it will better equip them and assist them so that they can actually...
I think that's key, for them to be productive citizens and for them to be modeled. And to have that example.
Absolutely.
And all those things that you stated before, that's needed in order for them to execute and see it follow through. Team building, all those things. And I think it's important. And I think mentorship, because it's something that I concentrate on within my business, and that mentoring is a really, really essential thing, especially today, because I think about when I was young. We had people that were at our schools. We had teachers that we considered kind of like a play mom, play dad, or if it was somebody that was just a big influence on us. We listened to the things that they told us, right? Yeah. But I think about it was different, because we didn't have that. We did maybe have a big brother, a big sister. But it was different because we were just kind of told, don't y'all do that, don't y'all go there, we kind
It's true.
of, you know, nowadays
Yeah.
we get to kind of break it down to them.
Yeah.
Talk
And
about some essential things that they need to know.
absolutely.
and
You're
hear.
right, Dante. You're absolutely right. And back then, I think the community was structured a lot different.
Yes.
You know, back
Yes.
then, you know, your neighbor, you know, would be on the lookout. So if your parents weren't home, the
Come on.
neighbor would, you know, be like, hey, your daughter was here, or hey, I saw your son doing this. So they were more close knit, and you know, you were able to keep a hold on the youth
Right.
more so than now. Now everybody is every man for themselves. So, you know, it doesn't matter what community or neighborhood you're in, everybody want to mind their own business.
Right.
So, you know, somebody, you know, is walking outside and get shot in the street, then nobody see nothing, they don't know what's going on, you know. So I think that even the dynamics with the community over the years has changed. You know, it's we're getting away from family structures, and you know, we're doing more of independent individual things, and I think that's having a major effect on the
I think
youth.
so too.
Yeah.
I think so, and I think it's important.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's important. I think it's important because it builds a strong foundation.
Absolutely.
And you know that leads me to, you know, this question about foundation. You know, and I'm thinking about your foundation
Mm-hmm.
that you actually created, the Kenyatta McKinnon International Foundation, which has a global reach.
Absolutely.
Tell us about a little bit about your foundation and what it's about and what you do.
My foundation, it actually offers 4 programs. And these programs we do internationally, we do locally. It doesn't even really matter wherever we are, these programs. So the first program we do is financial literacy. And this program is for youth and adults to learn how to manage their finances properly. One of the things that I think we need to really, really educate our youth on is how to manage finances. I think that's key, because based on how they manage their finances will dictate what they can have in life. And a lot of them don't know how to do credit. A lot of them don't know, you know, how to open up bank accounts. A lot of them don't know where to begin to start building in that capacity. Another program we offer is the Women Empowerment Program. And with the Women's Empowerment Program, this is a program where we empower women to be, you know, whatever they are desiring, whatever they're trying to achieve, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in business, whether it's, you know, whatever they have a passion for. This program empowers them to be able to go out and, you know, collaborate with other people on other things that they may need. And it also helps them be able to get assistance for anything that they may need. So we have a women empowerment program. We also have a food initiative where we go around and we basically have food drives, you know, doing Thanksgiving, doing Christmas, and just throughout the year we give to those that are less fortunate, those that, you know, need help. And what we do is we ask for volunteers to come, and as the volunteers come, we are able to purchase items, you know, that they can use over time, so that, you know, we'll be able to feed families. And so
that's amazing. That's
and
amazing, and to have a foundation set up that way,
Yeah.
where you can, man, you tie in ministry, you know, you have this nonprofit
Absolutely.
foundation that helps with all those aspects, and those are all 4 of those areas are key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just important that being consistent with ministry, it also requires a certain amount of giving. And so we have to just be cognitive of what, you know, we're doing and how we're doing it in order to touch the masses. And, you know, to do that, you know, I'm grateful that I have a team of volunteers that assist me to do that, you know, so that we can, you know, help people. You know, it's about helping others, you know, it's bigger than, you know, of course, you and I. And so I think that the main key, or the main ingredient, or the main goal is to just help those that can't help themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do.
Absolutely.
We want to help people who cannot help
Absolutely.
themselves.
Absolutely.
This has been such a powerful, you know, time really goes when we having fun.
Absolutely.
So you know, we talked about, you know, your role as an author. We talked about, you know, all the hats that you wear as CEO, minister, and all the different public speaking, and even your your organization, your foundation, the Kenyatta McKinnon International Foundation. Before we leave, I want people to really know you. And it could be a sentence, it could be a line, but what do you want people to walk away from Kenyatta when they go to your website, when they listen to your teaching? What is it about Kenyatta that you want people to know? Just about you.
Yeah,
who you are.
Yeah, I think that what they need to know is Kenyatta is somebody that doesn't give up. Kenyatta is somebody that is focused. And Kenyatta is somebody that she will continue to push and press until, I get to the goal that I'm trying to achieve. And even when I get to that goal, it'll be another goal after that. Wow. So I think the main ingredient to know about Kenyatta is, continue to walk in your purpose and continue to own what God has gifted you with. And as you continue to do that, and you'll make mistakes along the way, but the main thing is consistency. And I think that as you are consistent and as you keep going, there's no opportunity or there's no thing possible that you won't be able to do. And so I think that is what drives Kenyatta. That is what keeps Kenyatta going, because Kenyatta knows that there's always more to do and there's always people out there that need doing. So I think that's pretty much what I want people to know about me.
Let me just drop the mic on all of that. Y'all feast on that right there, because she just laid some gems out for you all, especially if you don't, or you're confused about certain things that are happening in your life, or you don't know what to do, and be consistent.
Be consistent.
Don't give up.
Keep going.
Kenyatta's gonna drive. You should drive too. Don't stop. Sometimes we don't see the success right away, and we tend to just give up or throw in the towel or disqualify ourselves.
Yeah.
She just go ahead.
But the Bible says for us not to be anxious about anything.
Come on.
So everything has its set appointed time.
That's right.
And so your time may not be God's time.
Yes.
So you have to let God work in your life the way it's supposed to work. And everything that is happening to you, ultimately, if we are believers of the word, then what the enemy meant for our bad, God meant it for our good.
That's right.
And my favorite scripture is Jeremiah 29:11, and it says this: "For I know the plans that I have towards you, the thoughts of good, not evil, and hope to give you an expected end." And that is exactly what God will give you. And he will even give you more than what you think your expected end is. And so that's why we have to trust and believe in him. I'm telling you, Dante, it is a faith walk. The reason why I'm here today and I'm able to, speak so confidently about what I know about everything that I'm doing is because I stepped out on faith. I didn't have anybody to give me a manuscript or a blueprint about what I need to do. I just started doing it. And as I started doing it, God met me at my point of need.
Wow.
And so, that's the best way I can sum it up.
You faithed it till you made it.
That's it. I faithed it until absolutely.
You faithed it.
I faithed it until I made it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's so encouraging, and I my prayer is that someone that's listening gleans from what you just said, because that's so encouraging. Don't give up. One of my favorite scriptures: "Let us not be weary."
That's right.
Well doing.
That's right.
For in due season,
come on,
you will reap.
That's right. You
if
will reap.
Faint
not.
In other words, don't give up.
That's right.
Don't give up. It's gonna get hard. It's gonna get tough. But
absolutely.
Don't give up. Don't give in. This was so encouraging.
Absolutely.
And I'm so proud of the things that you're doing.
You as well. Thank you so much.
I
mean, this is, oh my gosh, this is like a breath of fresh air. To just be able to communicate and tell people that it's hope. You just keep going. Don't give up. It may not look like this today, but tomorrow it may look totally different.
Don't tell me that these two class of '92 Dillard High School, Fort Lauderdale,
that's
Florida,
right, Fort Lauderdale, Florida Panthers.
That we couldn't make something out of our lives.
Absolutely. And, you know, I have gone through so much over the years. I know that it was only God that carried me, you know, and so I'll leave my story for another day, but I just look at everything that I've been through to get me to where I am now. And what God made me realize is that it's a process. I think a lot of times we live in a microwave generation where we want it right now. Right. But if God give it to you, if He gives it to you right now, you may lose it all, you know. And so that's why we need to be obedient, and we need to really faith walk it and really trust every single thing that we want to do in the hands of God.
Trust His process.
Trust His process, because that's the only way you'll make it through. If you try to do it any other way, you know, unfortunately, you may not win. Right. But if you do it His way, we know that we always have the victory. This has been
look. We can go on. And on and on. So I'm excited for the things that you have coming up, and how can our listeners stay in touch with you, follow your teachings, follow what you have going on in your events and things that you have? Where would
Absolutely. They can go to KenyattaMcKinnon.com.
Okay.
And when they go to KenyattaMcKinnon.com, everything is there. You know, everything, my book, you know, my nonprofit, my ministry,
yes.
You know, I have my own security business. So everything that, you know, they would want to know about the Kenyatta McKinnon brand is on KenyattaMcKinnon.com. So if they go there and they read through, they'll be able to click onto the different websites, the different services, the different programs I offer, so that they're able to, you know, stay in touch and be a part of the community, you know, so that they can start taking the step to living the life that they know that they deserve.
Listen, I don't know about you all, but I need you all to connect and bridge the gap.
Amen.
And find your way to Kenyatta McKinnon Ministries. Find her on Facebook.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram,
yes.
YouTube, LinkedIn, you know, Clubhouse. It is literally, if you put in Kenyatta McKinnon on Facebook, I'll pull up. If you pull up, you know, if you put my name in Instagram or, you know, TikTok or any of the social media handles, I will most certainly pull up. So I'm easy to find.
Put her name in. I promise you, you will be blessed at the end of the day. I'm so excited that we had this
Absolutely.
This time and opportunity, and I will make sure that the link is in the bio of this particular podcast for all those that are listening, so that you know where exactly to go to find her. Kenyatta, we're proud of you. I'm proud of you, and I wish nothing but God's success, God's speed.
Thank you so much.
With everything that you have going on. And I just know that people are going to be blessed by what you give and how you give it, because you have such a heart, I can tell, for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just really blessed, Dante, to know you. It's a blessing. You know, we you know, pretty much were raised in the same whole town.
Yes.
You know, went to the same high school. So it's just amazing to see you're doing great things. You know, you're podcasting, and I just know that, you know, you may, you know, success and prosperity be your portion in Jesus' name. I know that there are greater things, you know, waiting for you, and I know that you're going to do great. You're already doing great, and I'm proud of you as well. And I'm just thankful that you thought about me to have me, you know, on your podcast.
Look, why not? Why not? I just know my ratings are going to go up after this episode. So, listen, you all connect with Kenyatta McKinnon. And again, we'll make sure that that link is in the bio of this particular podcast. Thank you all for listening and being a part of Dante's Harmony today with my guest, my special guest from my hood, Fort Lauderdale, from the bottom. Kenyatta McKinnon, thank you.
You are so welcome, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You all have a good one, and I'll see you all next time on Dante's Harmony.
All right.